Hey guys! Today I'm going to show you how to make these cute bookmarks with clay. They're easy and fun to make and they're all inspired by the Little Mermaid. To create the mermaid tail bookmark you will need some white air drying or oven baked clay. Place the clay between 2 or 3 stacked popsicle sticks and roll it out. The popsicle sticks will help you rolling out the clay more evenly. I would recommend making the tail not too thin or it might break. Next, take a toothpick and start outlining the bottom part of a mermaid tail. Once you're happy with the outline, cut it out and even out the edges. Now place a large paper clip on top of the clay and secure it with a little bit of clay. Before you do that, score in the surface of the tail and the piece of clay. This way both pieces will attach to each other a lot better. And then even it out. Be sure the clip is not too close at the edge but not too far away or you will have difficulties using the bookmark. Now we can add more details. For this step I carefully carved in 2 lines like so to connect the corners of the middle part. Next, press in lines into the edge of the fins using a toothpick to create wavy edges. Now, starting from the middle part we prepared in the beginning, start carving in lines all the way down to the edge to create texture on the fins. Do that carefully so you don't accidentally cut off the clay or something like that. Now all we need to do is carving scales on top of the upper area of the tail. Begin at the bottom area and start scoring C-shaped lines that overlap each other until you reach the top. Next, turn around the clay and repeat the steps on the other side. Be careful not to press too hard so you don't ruin the other side of the clay. Even out the clay until you're happy how it looks, and now it's ready to be baked. But let me show you how to make the other 2 shapes first before we do that. Start off with a piece of white clay again and then add a tiny amount of yellow acrylic paint on top. And now it gets messy. Now you want to knit everything together to distribute the paint evenly and to color the clay. You can wear gloves if you want, but I want it to be messy because it's fun. Of course, if you have yellow clay, you can just use that instead. Once the clay is evenly yellow and your hands are clean, begin rolling the clay to create a drop-like shape. One of the sides should be thicker than the other. And now start rolling the clay into a shell starting at the thinnest side of the clay. This is going to be the shell that contained Ariel's voice. Once you're almost done with rolling and your clay looks similar to that, cut off some of the thick part of the clay to create a clean edge and to remove excess clay. Next, take a large paper clip again and carefully insert it into the clay. Now with your X-Acto knife, start adding lines all around the shell to create texture. Do that on both sides and be sure the lines are connected to each other. Now all we need to do is preparing the last type of shell that the Little Mermaid is wearing and we can finally bake the clay. Begin by rolling some white clay into a ball and then shape it into a flat teardrop shape. Next, press in lines along the upper edge of the clay using a toothpick. Now connect these lines with the bottom corner the same way. Do this on both sides and once you're finished with this step, cut off the lower part of the clay to create a clean edge. If you want, you can also use a large paper clip or paper. Here I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and slightly open the edge. Now place a piece of thick paper you want to use for the bookmark inside and then close the shell. Even out the clay if necessary and we are done. Now we can finally bake our creations and finalize them. Once the clay has baked and cooled down, we can start decorating it. Mix a pretty green-blue color using acrylic paint and then paint the clay on both sides and then let it dry for now. For the yellow shell you will need some light brown or orange colored acrylic paint. Begin by painting the inner corners of the shell to create shadows and then repeat the step with the lines we carved in using a thin brush. For this step I didn't use any water, this way you can easily just rub the color over the clay using a dry brush to create a nice texture. Once the paint has dried, take some white acrylic paint and apply it on top of the shell like that. Blend it in and then repeat the step, but this time don't blend in the white paint. This will make the shell look more three-dimensional. Don't forget to do that on both sides and then let it dry. For the last shell, we are going to need some purple colored acrylic paint. First, completely paint the clay and then blend in some white acrylic paint on top. Here I haven't used any water either because I like the texture that it creates when I apply the paint rather randomly and messy. As soon as the mermaid tail is completely dry, we can add more details to the design. First, I went ahead and applied a thin layer of white acrylic paint using a sponge brush, and then made the middle area of the tail slightly brighter. Now you can add some golden acrylic paint to the sides and blend everything in. I also applied some green colored acrylic paint to the fins to add another color. I really liked how it turned out here, but I somehow ended up going overboard with the details, so I also added a little bit of black onto the lines of the fins. I prefer the first version, but this also gives the creation a nice vintage look. Now we just need to let everything dry, glaze everything, and then glue a piece of thick paper into the purple shell. And we're done! Now you can use them as bookmarks or just decorate your books with them. I'm really happy how they turn out. What do you guys think? I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it helpful. If so, give this video a big thumbs up to support this channel. And if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe for more arts and crafts related videos in the future. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a wonderful day and I will see you next week. Bye!